But certainly, according to his lawyer, that he has been feeling ill in the last few hours and hadn't eaten for a few days. But can you imagine what it's like for the parents of Bibi, Alice and Elsie to sit there? This is the moment when they're going to hear justice, hear the sentence that's going to be passed on the man who killed their daughter. And it had barely got started, and he was already dominating proceedings and shouting from the dock. At sentencing hearings, the defendant doesn't normally speak at all, and he's been able to take over. As far as I can tell, the hearing is now resuming again, and we may be able to get things back on track. But certainly there's not much sign that Axel Ruda thinks this is a day of remorse. It mostly seems to be all about him and how he's feeling ill.
Daniel, we're just going to look at the background to this case, but if you stay with us, if you will, and we will keep you across the latest developments from inside the court complex. But let's just remind ourselves of the horrific events in Southport in July of last year. Here's my colleague Nick Garnett.
6-year-old Bibi King, Elsie Stankham, who was 7, and 9-year-old Alice Aguiar, murdered in Southport last summer in a tragedy which led to a wave of sympathy and sadness. Southport is a small seaside town. Everyone here has a connection to someone who was at the dance class at the beginning of the summer holidays. Sarah was hoping her daughter would be there.
It filled up very, very quickly, as of course it would do. So Neve was down on the waiting list, but she wasn't there. And, you know, I guess I'll be forever grateful for that, but also absolutely devastated that there are young people who are not here, and that just doesn't seem fair.
Axel Ruda was arrested with the weapon in his hand, but refused to admit he carried out the attack. But then, this Monday, with the trial about to start, he told his lawyers he was changing his plea. As well as the murders, he admitted trying to kill 8 other children and 2 adults, possession of a knife, manufacturing the biotoxic agent ricin, and downloading an Al-Qaeda training manual, a terror offence.
It is clear that this was a young man with a sickening and sustained interest in death and violence. He has shown no signs of remorse.
Whether Ruda could have been stopped will be the focus of a public inquiry. Nick Garnett, BBC News.
Well, let's bring in, once again, our UK affairs correspondent, Daniel Sanford, who is here, and you are hearing comments from what's being said inside the court itself, because this sentencing hearing, we were talking about the disruption due to Axel Ruda saying that he is unwell, but that opening prosecution statement, if you like, the description of what happened is still ongoing. So what are we hearing?
Yes, I mean, as we heard, he interrupted, claimed that he was feeling ill. There had been some suggestion he'd been taken to hospital. The police have made it clear that wasn't the case. So he's saying he's feeling ill. He interrupted proceedings almost at the very beginning, but it is now back underway. So just going back to what Diana here, KC, had been saying when she was interrupted. She had said that some of the injuries suffered by 2 of the girls that were killed could only be described as sadistic. And then she went on to talk about what Axel Ruda said at the police station after he'd been arrested. And he said, "It's a good thing those children are dead. I'm so glad, so happy." So again, having committed this horrendous atrocity just a few minutes earlier, he doesn't seem to have shown any remorse for what he had done. And the prosecution is now setting about the facts of what happened on the 29th of July. And what had happened was that Leanne Lucas, the dance teacher running the event, had posted on Instagram that there was going to be a Taylor Swift-themed event. It was going to involve dancing, making friendship bracelets, and that had sold out in about 11 days. That was due to start at 12 o'clock. 10 o'clock on the morning of the 29th of July, and Leanne Lucas and her friend Heidi Little had arrived to set things up at 9 o'clock. And at about the time that the event was getting underway, or was well underway, Axel Ruda was seen to be leaving his house at about 10 past 11. And he was ordering a taxi, which was to take him to Hart Space where the event had been happening. There are pictures that haven't been shown to the court, but Leanne Lucas had taken of the dance event that morning, which showed the children all apparently enjoying the day, very happily sharing their love of Taylor Swift, who of course everyone remembers last summer. She was on tour. She was a huge part of many children's lives last summer in particular, and it was described as a very, very happy event. Axel Rudakabana then took a taxi from his home to Hart Space Studios in Southport. He lives in Banks, which is just outside Southport. And then he didn't actually pay the taxi driver, just got out without paying. When he was asked by a garage owner to pay the fare, he said, well, what are you going to do about it? And then heads towards Hart Space. And Leanne Lucas, the teacher, actually noticed him through the window. She later told police that she'd actually noticed him through the window, a man with a hoodie, but she didn't really think anything of it. She had no idea what this man in a green hoodie wearing a surgical mask was about to do to the children in her care.
And this is what's being read out in court at the moment, the details. And we have to remember here that the families of those girls, those that were killed, those that were injured, those that weren't, but the mental scars will live with them forever. And they are just getting to the point now where that attack actually happened, and the moment when he entered the room.
Yeah, I mean, there were the children there were aged, I think, between 6 and 13, 26 children aged between 6 and 13. It was a very joyous event, and there is actually footage that shows Axel Rudakabana heading towards the building, and within 30 seconds of him going in to the building, people started hearing screams from inside, and he'd essentially walked into that room where the children were making their friendship bracelets and started stabbing people as soon as he'd entered the room. And these details are now being read out in front of the parents of the 3 girls who were killed, the 8 girls who were very badly injured. And of course, there are other girls who aren't involved in this court case who were present and witnessed all of this on that morning of the 29th of July.
And we should remember this is the first time that they will have been in a room with the teenager who changed all of their lives forever, because as we know, this trial was due to get underway this week. We were supposed to be at the end of the first week of the trial, but he unexpectedly pleaded guilty on Monday. When the families weren't there, it wasn't expected to be a significant day. And that caused a lot of upset. But today they are there in the same room to see and hear his reaction, which, as difficult as it might be, will be important for them.
Yeah, obviously the families of people who've been killed or whose lives have been changed forever by events like this are very central to the process. It's really important that those bits that they want to witness of the process, they should be there for. Now, I was here when Axel Rudakabana first appeared in court back in August, and obviously it was impossible for the families to be here then. It was far too recent event, so they didn't see him when he first appeared in court and was charged. There's been a number of administrative hearings since then, but I think some of them were steeling themselves for the trial, which was supposed to open on Tuesday this week, and were ready to be there for that and to witness the process. But because he pleaded guilty before anyone expected the trial to start, none of the families were there, so they completely missed the critical moment when he pleaded guilty. But again, that was Axel Rudakabana running events, just as he's tried to disturb events this morning by saying that he's feeling ill. But now they are there, and he is present in the dock, and they are witnessing the evidence as it's being read out, and they're hearing how Heidi Liddell, the dance teacher that was working with Leanne Lucas that day, managed to get one of the little girls into the toilet. They sheltered there. She told the little girl to keep quiet, and they were eventually found by police safe. But of course, the other girls were just there, subject to this extreme violence as this knife was being plunged again and again.
We're just hearing actually that he has been taken out of the dock and to a side room. More from you in a moment. We will keep you across all the latest events from Liverpool Crown Court. You're watching BBC News.